Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now on today's video, I'm going to show you how I stitched out this design. This is a design that I made in Embroider software and I stitched it out yesterday for the first time. Now I am going to show you the stitch out in fast forward motion, but I want to really focus on the towel, the stabilizers I used, how I hooped it, and how you know how to hoop it by looking at your design. If this is something you're interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get started. I want to start by showing you what I'll use today. This is a towel that I got at the Dollar Tree store. These are really great for beginner projects because if you mess one up, you're not out that much money. Also, if you try on this side and you mess that up, go ahead and flip it over. Try to find what works for you before you move on to a different towel. So in addition to the towel, I'm going to use 3 colors of thread. I have kind of a lime green, this hot pink, and then the other thread is already on my machine. It's very similar to this one, except that it has just a very slight orange tint to it. I'll probably use some masking tape because I plan to float one of my stabilizers. Now talking about stabilizers, I have tearaway. That's going to go on the back of the towel, and I am going to hoop this. And then I'll also have some water-soluble stabilizer on the top. What that water-soluble stabilizer does is it gives you stability on the front so that your stitches don't just sink into the towel. Some people also use a knockdown stitch. Today I'm not going to do that. I have some scissors, and then I'll use my Husqvarna Viking Topaz 40 machine. That's a single needle flatbed embroidery machine. Lastly, the design that I'll use is something that I made in Embroider. It's a saying that I've seen, and so I wanted to go ahead and try my hand at a design with it. Let's take just a minute to look at the design, because it's important to understand how it's oriented to know how to hoop your towel. My hoop connects to my machine on this left side. I have Gimme Some Sugar facing this way because I'm going to put the bottom of my towel at this left side. I'm going to show you that in the video, but I wanted you to understand why I did that. So let's go ahead and start by hooping this. My hoop is considered, some people call it a 6 by 10 inch hoop. It's actually 240 millimeters by 150 millimeters. So it's a little bit less than 6 by 10. I'm going to loosen it up by opening this little lever. I already have my stabilizer cut, so I'm going to add that. And then looks like I have something sparkly on this towel. Based on the way my design is, I need to turn my towel sideways. And so you always need to be able to tell what orientation your design is in your machine. I also have this tag that needs to be on the back. So let's flip it over. Now you can print out your designs if you want to lay those in the hoop and see exactly where you want to embroider. I don't think this one takes that much precision. As long as I have my towel fairly centered in the hoop and fairly straight, I think I'll be fine. So I'm just kind of feeling where the hoop is to see if I need to adjust the towel. All right, I'm going to call that good. Now I may have to loosen up this hoop a little bit more because this towel is somewhat thick and I have the stabilizer. And I can tell I do need to loosen it up some. So there is a thumb screw on my hoop and I can loosen it by turning that. All right, let's loosen up from top to bottom. Hopefully this will go in. Yes. I'm just going to put this lever down. It actually is still too tight. I can't close it without really struggling. So I'm going to keep loosening this up just a little bit more. And a little bit more. Okay, I think that's good. It looks fairly straight. You can kind of tell by those lines. And the back looks nice as well. Now I need to add that water-soluble stabilizer to the top. Again, this is so your stitches don't sink into the towel. And I might have been able to get away with hooping this. Let me cut this down so I can tape it to my hoop. All right, I'm going to go with that. Now I'm just going to add some tape to the 4 sides, then we'll put this on the machine. All right, I think that looks good. I can't wait to show you at the end how easy it is to remove this. So let's go ahead and attach my hoop to my embroidery machine. Like I talked about earlier, my machine attaches to my hoop on the left side. You just slide it up into place until it clicks. Then you know it's good to go. When I'm ready to start, I push that start button. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop this after a few seconds because I want to go ahead and trim the thread. I like to get rid of those loose threads so they don't accidentally get stitched down. So in this design, I started with the word gimme. I used a tatami fill stitch. And then after the fill stitch, I had it designed to put a triple bean stitch on. I really didn't like the way that looked, so I stopped the machine in the middle of the triple bean stitch. I'm going to rip that out later. Then I went to the control panel and I skipped ahead so that no more bean stitches would be stitched around the word gimme. Next it stitched out the word some and sugar, and again those were tatami fill stitches. Like the word gimme, they were supposed to have triple bean stitches around them, so when it was time for that, I had to stop my machine and forward to the right place. The last thing to stitch out were the lips. So of course I changed my thread again. I stitched those lips out. I think they turned out really, really nice. Again, that was a tatami fill stitch. Here's what we're looking like, and I really, really don't like that bean stitch around there. I'm going to try to cut that out, or rip that out. I'm coming back into Embroider software because when I was editing my video, I noticed how the design really wasn't centered in the hoop. Well, I forgot to do one function that you really need to do to make sure it is. Notice how much closer the E is to this end of the hoop than the G is to this end of the hoop. That's why my design was so off-centered in that towel. Here's what I should have done. I should have selected the entire design. I should have gone up to Utility, and I should have clicked on Center in the Hoop. Watch what happens when I do that. That would have made the end project so much better. Let's go ahead and deal with the stabilizer. Now, this water-soluble stabilizer, it is so nice because look how it rips away from your letters. Now there's going to be some parts and pieces that we have to take out by hand, but most of it comes out by just ripping it. I like to remove as much as I can by hand because if you have to dab this with water, it can get just a little bit gummy. But look at what a nice job it did to keep those letters on top of the towel. I am not happy with the inside of the C. I think I need to change the design for that. And I'm not sure, it almost looks like the bean stitch started in there. I'm not sure about that. It may have. All right, I'll clean the rest of that up off camera. I am really disappointed with that bean stitch. I thought it would just finish off the edge nicely, but it really doesn't. That looks terrible. Let's go ahead and take this out of the hoop. Then we can get that back stabilizer off. I don't even see much hoop burn. That's great. Now I like to kind of trim up the back before I take the stabilizer off. I think it gives me a little more protection from cutting the fiber of the towel. Now I wonder if those bean stitches would be easier to remove from the back. Okay, that must be where I already started removing it. All right, let's go ahead and take this stabilizer off. And then I will go ahead and remove those bean stitches from the back. That way if I accidentally tug on the towel at all, it's not going to be as bad as if I did it from the front. Now I don't quite have all the water-soluble stabilizer out yet, but I do have most of the bean stitches out. This looks so much better without them. Now I can see some threads poking up that were probably part of the bean stitch. So I'm going to go ahead, change my design, get rid of all those bean stitches, and then I'm going to stitch this out on another towel. Well, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It should have been shifted this way a little bit. It should have been shifted down a little bit, but I'll take it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you in my next video.